This is the Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
Jesus said, I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you. And if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies. Do good and lend expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
You know, it's easy to live in the obituary and not in the reality. I think many of us have been to funerals where we hear things said that weren't entirely what the person was like. And I always have this issue when we come up to honor saints like Dr. Martin Luther King. Last Monday we saw all of the wonderful speeches, all of the terrific things that he accomplished. And yet when I go to read Taylor Branch's wonderful trilogy that I'm sure some of you are familiar with, you see a humanizing of Martin Luther King Jr., which is what I think is really, really important for us to do. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to downsize anybody, but we want to humanize. And we want to humanize because we want to personalize. And when we personalize, we can self-analyze. And that's what I like to do when I approach saints like Martin Luther King Jr. And we discovered that Martin was called uniquely to do the same thing you and I are called to do. To discover, to own, and to proclaim. To discover that one particular truth that God has given each one of us. The same way you and I are called to discover that particular gift that we and only we have for the world. This is a good question, I think, for us to ask when we look at Martin's life. What is that divine abundance that's implanted in each one of our souls that's calling out for deeper entrance and engagement with the world? Now, while this morning's liturgy is rife with opportunities for the preacher to rile up an already left-leaning crowd to march for justice that has still not arrived, for blacks, for immigrants, for children, and for #MeToo women, let us realize that the impetus to do so when we talk about Martin Luther King Jr. comes from his faith, from what he believed, what he owned in his heart. And thus, our concentration will instead be upon who we are this morning and what kind of call. How is that call being made manifest, and what is it asking of us? After all, those of us who have been around a little while, we know we can't change anybody. But we can change ourselves. And in changing ourselves, we can change the world. So this morning, what we talk about is should be an easy sermon. The preacher comes up with 3 points. So hopefully when you leave, somebody at 8 o'clock said, I remembered all 3. Which, you hope are interesting enough to remember. And the first one has to do with what I think Martin Luther King really challenged America then and now to do, and that is to wake up. To wake up. One of the most successful video bloggers, and I'll turn to my younger folk here. Have you ever heard of Logan Paul? Yeah, you have. Logan Paul, yeah. How much you heard of the Logang? Yeah, 15 million YouTube subscribers to this guy, and us older folk may have heard of him because he's been in the news lately. This guy is rude, disrespectful, all of the above when you talk about somebody who's trying to push the button and you get 15 million views from primarily younger folk who, like the rest of us, will always stop when we see a traffic crash, right? And so that's what it is on videotape. And recently he's been in the news for us older people because he has crossed the line. He recently did a video that made poke fun at suicide. And because he did that, his following ride right up. The YouTube, almost unprecedented, they kicked him off. And now the videos that you're mainly seeing from Logan Paul are apology videos, trying to get his followers back. With one post, Logan Paul was stopped in his tracks, and he was there one day walking along rather cocky and confidently, and then bam, reality shakes him up and wakes him up to a reality that's going on that he was previously unaware of. And that's going on with a lot in our society today. Many of us are walking along in our lives confident and certain about the way things are, doing what we've always done, trying to keep the status quo. And Jesus and the gospel, because about anything, and I think Dr. King knew this, it's about waking us up to a reality that we know is out there, but we previously were unaware of. Dr. King saw this as good news because many of us come to church, if you're like me, and I can use the word bondage. We come into church in bondage to doing too many things out of fear and not enough things out of faith. Ever been at the conference and you had a question, and they asked a question, but you didn't mention that because you thought, okay, I don't want to be made fun of. You ever been in a crowd where a joke is cracked? You thought it was funny, but nobody else was laughing, so you didn't laugh. Have you ever had the opportunity to pitch a poem or pitch a story or pitch an idea, but you were too scared that it might not be approved? The person who risks nothing, does nothing, has nothing, and is nothing. Sure, they avoid suffering and sorrow, but they can't learn and feel and change and grow and love and live and become chained by their attitudes, enslaved. What risk are you and I facing this morning? How are we being asked to wake up to what's around us? Did we think that God put something in our hearts to hide? Or did he think we were given that gift to proclaim? I think that's what Dr. King so eloquently proclaimed to us, is that we gotta wake up. How are we getting a sober assessment of these things? Because as we know, one of our biggest and most pervasive and harmful human attributes is that we continually overvalue what we are not, and we undervalue what we are. Continually overvalue what we are not, and undervalue what we are. Everyone here has a unique gift of abundance in their heart that was given to them so that we would enjoy life, but also so that we would share it and change the world. My summer reading this summer, I decided I wanted to read about the robbery raids. So I got some books out. I read about Rockefeller, and I read about Cornelius Vanderbilt. I didn't know much about Cornelius Vanderbilt, middle of the 1800s. Cornelius Vanderbilt, through railroads mostly, in 1870 was the richest man in the world. Richest man in the world. He didn't have flush toilets. He didn't have electricity. He didn't have running water. Now, you can have all three of those today and be considered poor. Luxury, luxury, luxury. The time is short to get busy with the things that are most important to us, because one of the luxuries that has proven to be most harmful for you and me is the luxury that we think we have to take our time to figure out what we're called to do and make our mark in the world. The time is short to get busy with the things that are important. If Martin Luther King taught us anything, it was this sense of urgency. The time is now. We're not going to wait till later, but the time is now. What is that in your heart that is resonating with the sense that you need to be more conscious of urgency? You may say, but I'm working hard. Well, just because something's hard doesn't mean it's important. Just because something takes skill doesn't make it important. Just because something takes a long time to do doesn't mean it's important. If you're like me, you spend a lot of time being busy, but yet not much time. I think Dr. King would say the time is now. It's urgent. What is that urgent thing that's in our hearts? That God may be stoking the coals up. We only have a moment of time to harness our skills, doing the most and the best we can do with the gifts that we have, and which we were given to bless the world. I got kindergarten. Well, actually, she's first grade, and I sat down with invited me to her kindergarten. And she introduced me to her friends, and she said, "This is my dad. He dyes his hair white so people think he's smart." Anybody's got hair like mine knows it goes quick. It goes fast. Take advantage of that. What is the next action step we need to take in getting that word, that project, that abundance in our hearts more fully out of our hearts and into the world? Finally, I want to talk about something called evil, because this time of year we typically prepare people for their baptisms, and when they are baptized, we recite the baptismal covenant, and we talk a bit about evil. And I was reading recently, anybody ever seen the movie The Legend of Bagger Vance? Heard of it or seen it? Now he wrote this guy named Stephen Pressman, and he's written a number of interesting books. One of them is called The Art of Work, not the work of art, but the art of work. And in there, he defines evil as resistance. Resistance. And I think that's a fascinating way to look at evil. Evil is essentially resistance, and resistance is anything that comes against the good. The furthering of truth, of fairness, of justice, of positive creativity, imagination, and love. I find resistance when I'm on a diet and I open the refrigerator. Now, there's nothing evil about those Twinkies I keep in the fridge. There's nothing evil about that. It's the resistance. It's the resistance because it's trying to push against my decision to do the next right thing. Resistance. Resistance. If you've had a good idea, then you're going to find all kinds of resistance. And oftentimes, you're going to find resistance from those who love you the most and want to protect you. Remember when Jesus was out preaching and he was riling things up and his family came to him and said, "Don't do that." Well, why not? We don't want to see you killed, right? And so very often it's good to get opinions from those who don't have that same idea towards what it is you're doing. Living into our call, the newness, the creativity, and true purpose that we have in our hearts almost always comes after we run the gauntlet of peer disapproval. So the call to follow Christ, to follow the direction that he's put into our hearts, to bring forth the dream that's in our hearts, involves standing up to the critics. This is like one of the single most, it's like the biggest problem we have in bringing that abundance out of our hearts is the opinions of other people. Other people influence us consciously and unconsciously in so many ways that can be really negative. What does it mean to follow Christ and Christ's direction in ways that helps us mitigate what we feel we need from others, which is usually their approval, their acceptance, and how are we being kept down by negative voices and opinions, and how are we being asked to stand up to them? I think it's an important question. How are we letting other people run our lives? You know, a persistent and palpable emotion that I face every week as a pastor to another left-leaning congregation is all this stuff of fear and anxiety and sadness that's coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Face that every day. There's so much fear and anxiety in the world now, you can almost touch it. How can we find peace in our current cultural climate is a valid question. And as you and I look at the tumult and the unease of the cultural climate that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. faced, we notice in him an ability to walk in peace even as fire bombs were literally coming through his living room window. Dr. King knew that love your enemies was not a luxury, but a necessity to anyone serious about finding peace in a divided atmosphere. Love your enemies is not a luxury. We cannot afford to play into the enemy's temptations to return insult for insult and injury for injury. We are called to go beyond that. I have a friend, he called me up the other day. He dabbled in politics. He was elected to some office at one point. And he said, he talked about his political opponent. And he said, "This person is evil." And I said, "Phil, you're a Christian, and you're calling another person evil? Yeah, this guy is evil. Look what he's doing. Look what he's doing." And I had to stop him and say, you know, if we read the Bible, we have to contend that we do not denigrate and demonize a person, for we understand that we are not up against people, but against spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places, is what the Apostle Paul says. I mean, wouldn't it be easy if we could find evil? Oh, there's evil. Good, we just kill it, it's done, right? That would be easy. Unfortunately, that doesn't do the trick. We are to keep alert and pray, my brothers and sisters, and persevere, trusting that our reward will be great and that we will be children of the Most High, as our gospel reading said, who is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Doesn't mean we're to have no voice, but it means we need to walk in love and be known for our love more than anything. And in these affirmations we find joy, for this is what is promised by Jesus. Jesus promised us life and life more abundantly. For I tell you these things so that your joy may be full. And so, as I leave you this morning, let us do so with the example of Martin Luther King, ringing in our ears, and how he lived his life and his ministry with renewed energy to wake up. That's what we're called to do, to wake up, to get serious about seizing the urgent moment that's before us, and to stand up to resistance. Stand up to resistance in whatever form that's taking to us. But most importantly, let's do so with joy, my brothers and sisters. Knowing that rooting our lives in Christ puts us in touch with our deepest selves. Creatures made in love, who walk in love, and who are destined